Exposed, Millionaire's shocking test reveals hidden love with Maid, a heartwarming transformation. Jonathan Pierce stood at the center of his opulent living room, the glimmer of crystal chandeliers reflecting off polished marble floors. Golden sunbeams danced across the room, yet he felt a chilling emptiness in the air. A self-made millionaire at 35, his lavish house and elite social galas did little to fill the growing void within him. It was at that moment he realized the bonds with those who mattered most had become strings tethered to material success but now scattered and frayed, strained beyond repair. "Just look at him," his so-called friends whispered over glasses of expensive wine. Their laughter echoed hollowly in the corners of Jonathan's mansion. He waved off a party guest's compliment about his wealth, masking his growing discontent behind a practiced smile. Outside, the suburban community thrived on facade, obsessed with the glittering idea of perfection. Then there was Maria, his dedicated maid, a single mother from Guatemala who found her place among the chaos. Through her, Jonathan experienced a glimpse of genuine compassion and warmth. Late nights washed away the superficiality, as their conversations shifted from polite exchanges to heartfelt revelations. Maria shared stories of her children, of sacrifice and resilience, her laughter ringing true amidst Jonathan's world of artifice. Each laugh, each shared confession, chipped away at the walls of his apprehension, awakening feelings he had thought lost to time. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but when the whispers of high society reached him, Jonathan's heart sank. How could he hold his head high while his friends mocked the very connection that breathed meaning into his existence? They judged Maria's humble background, while he saw a warrior, fighting for her children and supporting his spirit. Conflict brewed within him, torn between two worlds, the gilded circles of privilege and the heart of a woman whose love breathed life into his weary soul. As Jonathan grappled with these mounting pressures, the suburban community erupted into crisis. The charity event to support struggling families risked failure, threatening countless children with despair. This was the moment he needed to decide. Should he continue pretending to fit the mold or step into the light and champion the cause that mattered? Standing in front of a crowd at the extravagant gala, faced with a choice that could alter everything, Jonathan felt the chilling weight of scrutiny wrap around him. But then he caught a glimpse of the entrance. His father, a proud war veteran, as sturdy as ever, walked through the doors with time-worn wisdom etched into his features. The hall buzzed with surprise, anticipation electrifying the air. Jonathan's heart thundered. Would his father's presence champion their love? Or would tradition and reputation snuff out the flame of hope he had ignited with Maria? As Jonathan's breath quickened, he steeled himself for the uncertain path ahead. Would he have the courage to redefine success, to fight for love, community, and his own sense of worth? Jonathan felt his father's gaze pierce through the crowd, a steady beacon of strength amid the swirling tension. He took a step back, momentarily lost in the warmth that swelled in his chest. This was more than just a familiar face, it was a reminder of the values that had shaped him. Values now threatened by the pretentious glitter of his life. With a breath that tightened his throat, he approached his father. The weight of the room's whispers faded as he neared. "Dad," he began, his voice steady yet vulnerable, "what are you doing here?" His father's eyes softened, filled with understanding. "I came to support you. It's time you stood for what you believe in." Jonathan chuckled, a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. "But what if they don't accept it?" "They may not, son, but their acceptance doesn't define you. What does, is how you choose to live." The conviction in his father's words was a pulse, steady and undeterred, that he turned back to the audience, filled with faces both friendly and unforgiving. The murmurs crescendoed as he shifted his weight, wrestling with the tide of emotions. Was he ready to stand in his truth? To reject the superficial bonds that had entangled him for so long? In the grip of quiet revelation, everything felt different. Maria stood within reach, her eyes bright with unspoken encouragement. He thought of their late-night talks, her laughter, the sweetness of her spirit that drew him away from his carefully curated life. It hit him then, what good was a life filled with wealth if he couldn't share it with someone who truly mattered? He raised a glass, not just for the occasion but as an offering to something more profound. Tonight, I want to speak about the charity and the families that need us. The room stilled, anticipation hung in the air, a vibration of expectation. We are all part of this community, and we have the power to make a change. I refuse to sit idle in the comfort of my privilege while others suffer. Maria has inspired me to redefine what it means to be successful by uplifting those around me. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a pebble dropped in still water. His friends' faces twisted in disbelief, but a few among them nodded, a flicker of respect shining through the haze of gossip. Jonathan felt energy course through him, emboldened by their reactions, both skeptical and supportive. He glanced at Maria, her face radiated pride, igniting a fierce determination within his heart. It's time we bridge the divide. Success isn't just money or social status. True success lies in the connections we make, the love we share, and the lives we touch. Cheers erupted from a small corner in the room, and slowly, more joined in. But not all voices were in harmony. What do you know of struggle? A voice sneered from the back, the challenge cracked through Jonathan's momentum like glass shattering on tiled floors. He caught his breath, the weight of judgment threatening to pull him under. But as he looked past the crowd, he saw his father standing proud, and Maria's unwavering gaze ignited something deep within him. I know that it's not where we come from, but where we choose to go that truly matters. I was lost, but I found my way by listening to those who live in the shadows of wealth, those like Maria. Together, we can change our community, uplift the fight of everyone here. He felt something shift in the atmosphere. Determination gripped him, and with a shaky breath, he vowed silently to himself, he wouldn't let fear govern his choices any longer. As murmurs transformed into applause, Jonathan sensed a new purpose wrapping around him like a warm embrace. But just as he began to feel the tide turning, he caught a whisper that chilled him to the bone. What makes you think she loves you back? The laughter that followed came cruelly sharp, slicing through the room like a dagger. And in that moment, Jonathan's heart raced. He knew the approval of his peers was only the beginning, he now faced the real challenge of holding on to the love that dared to bloom against all odds. Would he confront this doubt, or would it shake the foundations of his newfound purpose? Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. The laughter echoed around him, morphing the once supportive room into a battleground of raised eyebrows and scornful glances. He felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the laughter had stripped away his carefully curated image, leaving only raw emotions behind. That he looked for Maria, saw the hurt reflected in her eyes. The tenderness he had glimpsed moments ago now wavered, as if a fragile thread were about to snap. Could he really be the anchor she needed? The laughter continued, taunting, forcing him to confront the bitter truth beneath the surface. Were they merely a joke to the wealthy elite, a mismatched couple rife for ridicule? Who said love needs to fit a mold? His voice cut through the noise, surprisingly strong, as if it belonged to someone else. Maria is not just my maid, she is my partner, my inspiration. Love knows no boundaries, and it certainly doesn't care for social standing. The challenge rolled off his tongue, echoing in the silence that followed. Jonathan's heart raced, bolstered by sudden clarity. If his truth didn't resonate here, then he would still hold on to it tightly, refusing to let anyone else tear it down. His father's presence felt like a shield now, unwavering and strong. He turned to the crowd, navigating his gaze from face to face, daring them to voice their doubts. Let them say what they want. I've watched Maria give her heart to this community, working tirelessly when no one was watching, when nobody cared to help. That's strength. That's love. His pulse quickened, a rush of confidence flooding him. The realization that this was about more than him, about how a society defined love, brought him into focus. Applause broke out, tentative at first, as some guests processed his words. Others remained stony, their expressions telling a different story, one of disbelief and derision. But it didn't matter. Jonathan had already cast his line into uncharted waters, he just needed to make it to solid ground with Maria beside him. True love embraces differences. It thrives on shared dreams, built on mutual respect. I refuse to let anyone tell us we're not worthy. For the first time that night, he let the genuine warmth swell in his chest. And if that scares you, then maybe it's time you took a step back and reflected on your own choices. He spotted Maria, her eyes gliding over the crowd. The corners of her mouth turned up, a slight yet encouraging smile breaking through her worry. In that moment, everything shifted. The tension evaporated, making room for understanding and open-heartedness. She was with him, how could he doubt that? But even as cheers erupted and smiles spread, doubt still crept in like a shadow. What about their future? The whispers of her worth echoed through his mind. Was he truly ready? He sought her out, needing to bridge the unspoken gap between them. As he caught her eye, his heart thudded, a silent question hanging between them. Suddenly, a response came from the back of the room, tone dripping with irony. You think your love is strong enough for this world? A figure stood up, a well-known businessman whose words had a way of piercing through the bravado of the moment. Jonathan felt the heat rise within him. How dare he question their love? He opened his mouth to counter, but hesitation halted him. Was there truth in his skepticism? Could he stay resolute in the face of uncertainty? The atmosphere grew charged as Jonathan dug deep within, trying to find the right words to fend off this new onslaught. And suddenly, he felt the weight of an unexpected decision coiling around him, pushing him further on this path. But as the crowd erupted into arguments and debates over his relationship, Jonathan could only wonder, could he not only prove his love to them but to himself as well? In that moment, he realized this was only the beginning. The real test awaited him at home with Maria. What would happen when they faced the real world together? The moment Jonathan stepped out of the heated atmosphere of the gathering, a wave of relief washed over him. He closed his eyes for a second, the cool evening air brushing against his face, a soothing balm against the embers of confrontations and doubts still simmering inside. But relief wasn't his only emotion. Fear mixed in, knotting his stomach as he thought about Maria, alone in the midst of that judging crowd. That he found her standing by the edge of the gathering, her expression clouded, concern and pride reflected in her eyes. The applause still rang in his ears, but under it was the distant echo of those who questioned them. Would she feel the weight of those judgmental stares? Maria, he called softly, his heart hammering as he approached. She turned to him, and with each step, he could see the tension slipping from her shoulders. In the silence that enveloped them, he searched her face for answers but found uncertainty instead. Jonathan, her voice was trembling, but the way she said his name, like a prayer almost, sent another rush through him. You were incredible tonight. But you don't have to fight for us. He stepped closer, feeling the need to bridge the distance, to erase the doubts. I do, Maria. Every time I open my mouth in that room, it's for us. For our love. I want to let them take that from us. Her eyes softened, but there was something deeper pulling at her. What if we can't change their minds? Or worse, what if they come after you? The seriousness of her words hit him like cold water. He had fought hard for their love, but the reality of facing the privileged world alone, with all its expectations and prejudice, was daunting. Still, he squared his shoulders, determined. Then I'll fight them. I'd rather take on the world than walk away from you. I want to let fear dictate my life. She smiled cautiously, her heart clutching at his resolve while those same fears danced within her. Could their love withstand such an onslaught? Were they really strong enough for this battle? Jonathan, she hesitated, glancing away as if looking at a horizon filled with unknowns. Sometimes love isn't enough, no matter how much we want it to be. That statement, heavy with unspoken truths, hung in the air, hurt grazing Jonathan's heart. What do you mean? I thought we were on the same page. I thought we could face anything together. Desperation laced his voice. She wouldn't walk away now, not after everything. What are you scared of? Flickering doubt flicked across her features but was quickly replaced by resolve. I'm scared of losing what we have. I'm scared of you getting hurt because of me. Her vulnerability stirred something deep inside him. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. Then don't let fear win. Fight for this with me. For us. As her eyes met his, he felt a flicker of hope igniting. He wanted to believe they could stand against the world. But just as he opened his mouth to speak again, a sudden disturbance at the edge of the gathering caught both their attention. They turned, their gazes locked on a figure approaching, silhouetted against the dim glow of the mansion. Jonathan's breath hitched as he recognized the man, one of his father's closest allies. The urgency in his stride sent Jonathan's heart racing anew. Jonathan. We need to talk. Concern flooded his veins. Blake was a vice president in their family firm, usually reserved, but something in his tone told Jonathan this wasn't just a casual chat. What could he want? Maria whispered, her grip tightening around his hand. I don't know, Jonathan admitted, his anxiety mirroring her own. But curiosity propelled him forward. As they walked toward the figure, Jonathan couldn't shake the foreboding sensation settling in his chest. This encounter might change everything they had fought for. As Blake approached, Jonathan braced himself, wondering what revelation awaited them, and would it push them further apart or draw them even closer together. Blake halted a few steps away, his brow furrowed and his voice low, almost conspiratorial. Jonathan, I need you to listen to me. There are things happening that you don't know about. Things that could jeopardize not just your future, but Maria's too. Jonathan exchanged a glance with Maria, her eyes wide with curiosity and concern. He stepped forward, determined to make sense of Blake's words. What are you talking about? Before Blake responded, he glanced around, ensuring no one else was within earshot. There are whispers about your connection to Maria, he said, urgency laced in every syllable. People are talking. They're not just questioning your relationship, they're plotting. If you're not careful, you could both end up in the crosshairs of a very unpleasant situation. Jonathan's heart raced. What do you mean, plotting? Who's talking? People at the gathering. You know how these circles operate. One comment can lead to a rumor, and rumors can destroy reputations, especially if you're not careful about who you associate with. Jonathan felt a wave of anger wash over him, near suffocating. This isn't some high school gossip, Blake. This is my life, he replied, his voice barely in check. Our lives. We won't be pushed aside because of who Maria is. I'm not saying you should hide from anyone, Blake continued, frustration rising in his tone. I'm saying consider the consequences. Your father won't take this lightly. He has plans for you, Jonathan, big plans. Maria squeezed his hand, grounding him as he wrestled with the upheaval inside. What plans? Jonathan demanded, looking at Blake. You mean the legacy stuff? That's not my future anymore. It's not just a legacy, Blake urged, his expression pained. It's a firm. It's influence. It's power, and it involves connections that run deep. If you defy them, you could lose everything. Jonathan felt like the walls were closing in. The thought of losing Maria made his heart ache, but he didn't want to let fear dictate his actions. If they want to come after us, they'll have to face me, he declared, his fists clenching. But what about Maria? Blake pressed. You need to think about her too. You think you can just fight them off? Jonathan. Maria interjected, her voice trembling. We can't just fight every battle. We need to be smart about this. Her words cut deeper than any sword. He turned to her, pain mingling with the fierce love he felt. You're right, but I won't let them divide us. I refuse to do that. A heavy silence settled between them, the sound of the gathering drifting away like distant thunder. Jonathan felt a mixture of regret and determination swirling inside him. What do we do now? Blake ran a hand through his hair, looking stressed. I might know someone who can help. But you both have to be willing to consider other options. Other options, Jonathan echoed, unease crawling over him. What do you mean? Blake took a deep breath, his gaze serious. What if you had to choose between your family's legacy and your love? Jonathan's stomach dropped at the suggestion, the weight of that question piercing through the air. The winds of destiny seemed to swirl around him, shifting and changing in ways he never anticipated. Could they truly be forced to choose? Maria's eyes gleamed with uncertainty, an unspoken worry paralleling his own. As their hearts beat in sync, Jonathan felt the gravity of the dilemma that lay ahead. What if love wasn't enough? The thought lingered, heavy and unsettling. As Blake's words echoed in his mind, Jonathan braced himself for what was to come. The choices they faced would challenge everything they believed in, leading them down a path he never wanted to tread, but before he could process it all, a loud voice erupted from the gathering, pulling him back. Jonathan's heart pounded as he turned to see shadows deepening in the distance. He wasn't ready for whatever awaited him next. And as the crowd erupted in chatter and confusion, he realized that a storm was brewing, one that would threaten to wash away everything they had built. The noise of the gathering surged like a tidal wave, drowning out his thoughts. People laughed, others argued, and yet, all he could focus on was the weight of Blake's warning. He turned back to Maria, searching her face for answers. Her features were soft but tense, mirroring the uncertainty wrapping around his heart. Should we leave? She asked quietly, her voice shading with worry. Maybe, Jonathan replied hesitantly. The thought of escaping felt appealing, but would running away really solve anything? What if they're just rumors? Blake cleared his throat, his expression shifting from urgency to resolve. It doesn't matter if they're just whispers now, you need to take action before they become something more. You can't let them think you're weak. I'm not weak, Jonathan snapped, the tension erupting in his chest. But I can't just jump at shadows either. That's where you're wrong, Blake countered, stepping closer, his voice a low murmur just for them. In this world, where appearances matter more than truth, staying silent can be more dangerous than you realize. Either you confront this head-on, or you risk being crushed under their expectations. Jonathan felt a surge of anger mixed with a deep-seated fear that if he didn't stand up now, he would lose everything he cared about. He clenched his fists, realizing how tight the grip of his family's legacy truly was. I don't care about their expectations, he declared, shaking his head, trying to shake off the doubt. I just care about us. Maria's eyes softened, yet the worry didn't leave them. But what if loving each other puts us at risk? If we're constantly looking over our shoulders, that's not how I want to live, Jonathan interrupted, the thought of a future filled with anxiety squeezing his heart. I love you, Maria, and what we have shouldn't be hidden. I won't let anyone dictate how we feel. We'll find a way. Blake shifted uncomfortably, a shadow of doubt lurking behind his own bravado. You're saying that now, but if they start making threats, things change. You both need to be ready to fight, or run. That's a decision that requires both of you. The weight of those words sank in. Jonathan's stomach churned. What was it going to take to navigate this world without being crushed by it? He thought about the life he wanted, the one he was willing to fight for. Suddenly, a loud laugh cut through the noise, a reminder of carefree moments they could lose in the chaos. Jonathan turned, momentum rising in his chest. I want to enjoy life, not run away from it. Maria squeezed his hand tighter, visibly gathering her own courage. Then let us figure it out together. Whatever it takes, we tackle it side by side. Her determination sparked something inside him, a renewed sense of hope. Side by side, he echoed, feeling a swell of emotion. But Blake's expression shifted again, casting a shadow over their moment. Just remember, the choices you make now could change everything. And if it comes down to choosing, what will you choose? Jonathan felt the heat rise from his core, the question sharper than before, drilling deep into his soul. What would he choose? Could he really sacrifice one for the other? As the crowd's voices ebbed and flowed, a quiet certainty rose in him: love was worth the fight. Yet, the flicker of doubt whispered at the edges of his mind. Would he truly have the strength to stand firm? Would Maria's love be enough to shield them from the fallout? The thought lingered, heavy. And as shadows lengthened in the fading light, Jonathan knew that soon enough, the moment of truth would come. Could he face it all without losing what mattered most? As the vibrant colors of the gathering blurred into an exhausting hum, Jonathan took a deep breath, steadying the storm of emotions within him. Maria's hand felt warm in his, a small tether amidst all the chaos. He didn't want to lose her, didn't want their love to become another casualty of unrelenting expectations. I can't shake this feeling, he admitted, his voice barely above the din. It's like we're walking a tightrope, and one misstep could send us crashing. Maria looked at him, her brow furrowed in thought. But isn't that part of living fully? Embracing the risks? Jonathan nodded slowly, biting his lip as doubt festered in his mind. It's easy to say that when you're standing on solid ground. But what if we're not? He noticed a group nearby, laughing and sharing drinks, oblivious to the weight crushing his heart. Were they really that naive? Or were they all just pretending, like he was? He felt an ache in his chest as he thought of all the moments spent pretending to fit in, to please others, while his true self remained hidden. Let us go somewhere quieter, he finally suggested, unable to shake the push and pull of anxiety surging through him. Maria's eyes brightened with agreement. Yes. Let us find a place where we can just breathe. They slipped through the throng, reaching a small patio at the back of the house. A soft glow from string lights brought warmth to the cool evening air. Jonathan leaned against the railing, letting the gentle breeze fight against the tension coiling inside him. Better? Maria asked, her voice softening. Much, he replied, letting out a relieved sigh. The chaos faded into the background, and he found solace in her presence. Yet, even here, a familiar whisper of dread lingered in his mind. Do you think we can really handle this? He asked, his voice cracking slightly. What if it spirals out of control? If it does, Maria said, stepping closer, we'll face it together. You and me against the world, remember? Her eyes sparkled with determination, igniting a flicker of hope. Jonathan smiled, but the smile felt slightly broken. What if this world keeps pushing us apart? Before Maria could respond, the door slammed open behind them, and Blake stepped out, his face flushed with urgency. You two need to see this. He gestured emphatically, and Jonathan's heart sank. See what? Jonathan asked, tension coiling tighter around him. It's about the rumors. People are talking, and it's not good. The urgency in Blake's tone sliced through the air like an ice-cold knife. Oh great, just what we need, Jonathan muttered, resentment bubbling up. More rumors. The way they're talking, Blake continued, ignoring him, they might actually believe it's true. And they're not just whispering anymore. It could escalate. What do you mean, escalate? Maria asked, her voice barely a whisper, eyes wide with fear. Blake hesitated for a moment, his gaze darting to the door. There could be consequences. People are getting bold. It's not just idle chat anymore. If you don't confront this, things could spiral out. Jonathan felt panic flash through him. Are they threatening us? Blake swallowed hard, and the weight of the silence between them felt stifling. Not yet. But I think it's only a matter of time. His heart raced. How could he keep Maria safe without losing what they had? Jonathan. Maria's voice broke through the chaos of his thoughts. What do we do? He took a deep breath, their hands still entwined, and felt a flicker of resolve spark within him. We don't let fear dictate our lives. We fight back. Together. But even as those words left his lips, doubt lingered like a shadow. Could they truly fight this battle, or was this just the beginning of a war that could destroy everything they cherished? As the tension wrapped tighter around him, Jonathan felt the ground shift beneath his feet. Would love be enough to withstand the storm ahead? The sudden chill in the air seemed to amplify Jonathan's heartbeat as Blake's words settled over them. The light from the patio flickered slightly, casting shadows that danced eerily against the wooden deck. Jonathan couldn't shake the weight of fear pressing down on him. Lives had been shattered by less. How could they stand against a tide of rumors swelling all around them? What do we do? Do we confront them? Do we ignore it? Jonathan felt his throat tighten, each word laced with uncertainty. His instinct screamed to protect Maria, but how could they fight something so intangible, so pervasive? Maria's grip tightened around his hand, her eyes filled with a blend of determination and worry. We start by addressing it head-on. We can't let fear silence us. But what if it's dangerous? Jonathan countered, glancing toward Blake. What if confronting it only makes things worse? Blake shifted uneasily, the weight of their predicament hanging in the air like an unwelcome guest. It might, he admitted, but doing nothing will only give people more power. If we stand back, we're letting them win. A soft wind rustled the leaves above them, as if nature was echoing the tumult of their thoughts. Jonathan drew in another breath, grounded by the warmth of Maria beside him. Okay, we confront it, he said, his voice steadying. But we do it carefully. We need a plan. Let us talk to those who matter, Blake suggested. We can gather support. There are people who believe in you, Jonathan, people who know the truth. Jonathan could feel the fire of resolve beginning to kindle. He had friends who would rally around them, people who saw beyond the gossip to the reality of their situation. With Maria at his side, he felt a little more invincible. And what about the others, those who thrive on rumors? Jonathan glanced back toward the house where laughter still erupted, careless and oblivious. What if they turn these rumors into something more, something dangerous? We'll be ready, Maria said, her voice ringing with conviction. We have to be brave. We can't be afraid to face them down, to set the record straight. As her words wrapped around him, Jonathan could almost see a way out. It would be difficult, yes, but the thought of standing together against the tide filled him with a sense of purpose. I never wanted to hide us, Jonathan admitted, looking deep into Maria's eyes. We deserve to be happy, to be free to love each other without fear. And we will be, Maria replied, a small, fierce smile breaking through the tension. This is just a hurdle, and I believe we can jump it. The arrival of determination lit a spark in Jonathan, a realization that they could shape their own narrative. They wouldn't let others dictate who they were. They were more than mere rumors, more than what anyone dared to say. Their love was real, strong enough to withstand the storm, but as the breeze picked up, carrying an unsettling whisper through the trees, Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the calm before the real chaos set in. Just then, the laughter from inside turned to heated shouts, arguments escalating quickly. Jonathan's heart dropped. What had just begun as a small storm now seemed ready to explode. What is happening? Maria asked, her grip tightening around him once more. They exchanged a glance, and Jonathan felt the air grow thick with tension again. They had just decided to stand their ground, but it felt as if the world was moving faster than they could keep up with. A hard shout rang out, loud enough to be heard over the chorus of voices inside. It echoed through the patio like a death knell. What have we done? Jonathan wondered as his anxiety flooded back, drowning out the resolve they had just summoned. Would they have the courage when the chaos finally reached them? The tension in the air surged, palpable and electric. Jonathan's heart raced, each thud echoing like a war drum in his ears. He turned toward the house just as the door swung open, casting an unwelcome light onto the patio. Figures spilled out, faces flushed with indignation, their voices rippling through the chilled night air. What are you two doing out here? A voice shouted, cutting through the chaos like a knife. It was Tom, a childhood friend turned rival, his eyes darting between Jonathan and Maria. There was a familiar glint in his gaze, disapproval mixed with something darker. Maria stepped forward, her resolve hardening. "We're standing up for ourselves," she declared, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. Jonathan felt her determination radiate towards him, fueling the fire within. "You think you can just confront us?" Tom scoffed, moving closer. Others gathered behind him, nodding in agreement, their faces twisted in judgment. "You think people will rally around you? Enough of this." Another shouted from the crowd, his tone harsh and unyielding. "You're bringing this on yourselves." Jonathan clenched his fists, teeth set in defiance. He had envisioned a possibility of support, but their jeers felt like an avalanche threatening to bury them beneath a mountain of doubt. "But no, not tonight. Not anymore. This isn't just gossip," Jonathan began, voice rising to pierce through the din. "This is our lives. We're not going to hide anymore. If you want to spread rumors, go ahead, but know that we're facing this together, and we won't stand down." "Hiding?" Tom snapped, a sneer on his lips. "You've always been good at that, haven't you? Hiding behind her." He pointed viciously at Maria, as if exposing some dirty secret. The crowd murmured in confusion, glancing between Jonathan and Maria. Jonathan could feel the heat rise in his chest. "This is about more than just us," he barked, anger igniting his words. "This is about anyone who has ever felt marginalized by whispers and judgment. If you think I'm going to let you continue this, let us take it inside, folks," yelled Blake, stepping between the groups. His solid presence seemed to anchor Jonathan in place. "You want to hear the truth? Let's do it where it matters. Where everyone can hear." Jonathan captured Maria's gaze, heart pounding with hope. This was at the moment to flip the narrative, to transform their pain into strength. Together, they approached the threshold of the house, where the echoes of their critics had begun to quiet down. The weight of the moment pressed heavily, but it felt lighter here, as if possibility was whispering directly into his ear. "Stay close to me," Jonathan murmured to Maria, catching her hand and squeezing it tightly. He could sense her nerves, could feel the tremor in her fingers, but he also felt her strength, a steady flame ready to ignite. The room was brimming with people, a mix of curiosity and skepticism flickering across their faces. As Jonathan stepped inside, he searched for familiar faces, friend, ally, and even those who had unknowingly bolstered their resolve. "Whoa, what is going on?" someone shouted, breaking into the charged atmosphere. The crowd parted just enough for them to step into the center, forming an unintentional ring around Jonathan and Maria. With every eye upon them, every heart weighing their presence, Jonathan took a deep breath. "We need to talk," he said, urgency threading his voice. "It's time for the truth to come out. We're done letting rumors define us." A murmur of surprise and curiosity rippled through the crowd. Jonathan felt the first flickers of hope pushing through the anxiety. This was a chance to transform the narrative, that slender thread of resolve sparking brighter amidst the chaos. But as laughter broke out from the back of the room, mocking and scornful, a sinking dread filled Jonathan's gut. Would his voice be enough to drown out the laughter? Would they truly listen? Is truth powerful enough to withstand the chaos? He wondered silently as all eyes turned to him. The moment hung in the balance, and Jonathan was left wondering what would come next as the room started to pulse with tension again. What awaited them in this storm of voices? Jonathan steadied himself, the weight of the moment pressing down like a heavy cloak. The room felt like a battleground, with glances flickering around him, suspicion and intrigue reflected in their eyes. He glanced at Maria, whose expression was a mix of fear and fierce determination. This was it. "Listen," he said, voice rising above the murmurs, "we can't let rumors dictate who we are, or how we love. Maria is not just my maid, she is the person who brings light into my life. You've judged her without even knowing her, without understanding the strength it takes to survive in a world that often turns its back on those it deems unworthy." The silence felt electric, the crowd hanging on every word, but doubt crept in from the edges. "Look, this is a joke," Tom sneered, but his interruption only fueled Jonathan's fire. "This isn't a joke," Jonathan shot back, heart racing. "It's about kindness, about recognizing that love isn't bound by class or wealth. It's about the connections we make, and we all have a choice between judgment and understanding." The gathering felt alive, tension rippling through the crowd. Some faces softened, while others hardened, their resolve shifting like the wind. Jonathan sensed Maria's hand tightening around his. He turned to her, her eyes shining with unspoken courage. "This isn't just my fight," he continued, a newfound conviction lifting his spirit. "It's ours. The ones who aren't afraid to stand for love, for those who are marginalized. We define our narrative together." Applause erupted, hesitant at first, then building momentum as voices joined in. A few hesitant claps turned into a chorus of support rising from the crowd, louder and more defiant. But in the back, someone shouted, "You're naive. You think love can change the world." Jonathan's heart thundered, but he set his jaw. "It changed mine. And it can change all of us if we let it." Suddenly, he found a sliver of clarity cutting through the noise. He took a step forward. "I know it's easy to stand here and throw stones. Whispers are powerful, but so is truth. And together, we can create a reality built on kindness and respect instead of fear." The murmuring became a wave of conversation, voices rising and falling like a tide, but Jonathan could sense his truth resonating with those who truly wanted to listen. Was this the shift he'd been fighting for? Hope surged within him. He turned to Maria, whose eyes were now glistening with tears of pride. "You inspire me," he whispered, squeezing her hand. "Together, we're unstoppable." Blake nodded, stepping beside them. "This isn't just a personal story, it's about our community. We can either stand united or let the darkness of judgment and prejudice tear us apart." Slowly, the energy in the room began to change, shifting into something transformative. Jonathan saw a few friends nod recognition dawning on them. The power of love could, indeed, reshape perceptions and mend bridges. Before he could continue, someone called from the crowd, "What about his family's legacy? Can he abandon it?" Jonathan felt his heart drop but caught Maria's gaze, a steady reminder of their connection. "My legacy isn't just wealth or status. It's how I choose to live. It's about standing up for love and creating a world where everyone belongs. If my family can't accept that, then maybe they've lost sight of what really matters." As he spoke, murmurs of support grew deafening. "Let us remind everyone that we get to decide who we are," he declared, driving the point home. "And we can be better, do better. Together." With fresh energy swelling through the room, an ally finally spoke up from the back, "I know Jonathan, he's not one to walk away from a challenge. We can support this. We're stronger together." The room erupted into applause, a wave of unity coursing through everyone present. Jonathan felt the pieces falling into place, the storm of rumors beginning to dissolve in the face of this collective resolve. With each voice rising around them, Jonathan and Maria stood hand in hand, uncertainty fading into unyielding belief in their love and the community they could help inspire. As laughter and cheers intertwined in celebration, Jonathan glanced at Maria, the enormity of their shared journey settling within him. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. "For anything," she replied, determination lighting her features, and in that moment, as they looked out at their community who was now standing with them, he knew love, true love, could break even the strongest chains. And as they stepped into the center of the room, ready to embrace whatever was to come next, Jonathan realized that together they were not just allies in a battle but a beacon of hope for everyone longing for acceptance and understanding. Love, after all, was their greatest legacy. So, be inspired. Choose love, choose kindness, and let that be the heart of your legacy. Don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Your voice matters. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. True fans like you understand the importance of keeping the conversation alive.